माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदना ब्रजजनरंजना यशोदानंदना ब्रजजनरंजना यशोदानंदना ब्रजजनरंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदना ब्रजजनरंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 10, entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions, verse number 7. Abhasascha nirodascha yatostyadhyavasiyate sa ashrayah param brahma paramatmeti shabdyate आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतोऽस्त्यद्यवसीयते स आश्रयः परं ब्रह्म परमात्मेति शब्दते। आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतोऽस्त्यद्यवसीयते स आश्रयः परं ब्रह्म परमात्मेति शब्दते। आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतोऽस्त्यद्यवसीयते स आश्रयः परं ब्रह्म परमात्मेति शब्दते। आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतोऽस्त्यद्यवसीयते स आश्रयः परं ब्रह्म परमात्मेति शब्दते। आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतोऽस्त्यद्यवसीयते स आश्रयः परं ब्रह्म परमात्मेति शब्दते। Mataji, word to word meanings. Abhasaha, the cosmic manifestation. Cha, and. Nirodha, and its winding up. Cha, also. Yataha, from the source. Asti, is. Adyavasiyate, become manifest. Saha, he. Ashraya, reservoir. Param, the supreme. Brahma, being. Paramatma, the super soul. Iti, thus. Shabdyate, called. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Supreme One, who is celebrated as the Supreme Being or the Supreme Soul, is the supreme source of the cosmic manifestation as well as its reservoir and winding up. Thus, He is the supreme fountainhead, the absolute truth. Purport. Synonyms for the supreme source of all energies, as explained in the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, are Janmadhyasya yataha vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yad jnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. Called Param Brahma, Paramatma or Bhagavan. The word iti used here in this verse completes the synonyms and thus indicates Bhagavan. This will be further explained in the later verses, but this Bhagavan ultimately means Lord Krishna, because the Srimad Bhagavatam has already accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. The original source of all energies, or the Samam Bonam, is the absolute truth which is called Param Brahma, etc. And Bhagavan is the last word of the absolute truth. But even with the synonyms for Bhagavan such as Narayana, Vishnu and Purusha, the last word is Krishna, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate, etc. Besides that, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the representation of Lord Krishna as a sound incarnation of the Lord. Krishne swadamopagate dharmajnanadibhissaha kalau nashtadrishamesha puranarko adunoditaha. Thus, by general conclusion, Lord Krishna is the ultimate source of all energies, and the word Krishna means that. And to explain Krishna or the signs of Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam has been prepared. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this truth is indicated in the questions and answers by Suta Goswami and the great sages like Shaunaka. And in the first and second chapters of the second canto, this is explained. In the third chapter, this subject is more explicit, and in the fourth chapter, even more explicit. In the second canto, the absolute truth as the personality of Godhead is further emphasized, and the indication is the Supreme Lord Krishna. The summary of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses, as we have already discussed, is succinct. This Supreme Personality of Godhead in the ultimate issue is confirmed by Brahma in his Brahma Samhita as Ishvaraha Paramah Krishnaha Sachidananda Vigraha. So it is concluded in the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The complete subject matter is elaborately explained in the 10th and 11th cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the matter of the changes of the Manus or Manvantaras, such as the Swayambhuva Manvantara and Chaksha Manvantara, as they are discussed in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna is indicated. In the 8th canto, the Vaivasvata Manvantara explains the same subject indirectly, and in the 9th canto, the same purport is there. In the 12th canto, the same is further explained, specifically regarding the different incarnations of the Lord. Thus, it is concluded by studying the complete Srimad Bhagavatam that Lord Krishna is the ultimate Samambonam, or the ultimate source of all energy. And according to the grades of worshippers, the indications of the nomenclature may be differently explained as Narayana, Brahma, Paramatma, etc. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we have been discussing, of course, the last 2 days were festival days. I mean, even before that, we have been discussing, preparing our mood for Janmashtami, and yesterday was Srila Prabhupada's Katha on the auspicious occasion of his Vyasa Puja. So today we are coming back on track, continuing our regular discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. The 10th chapter of the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam discusses about the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what we have been discussing. So, in the very first verse, Srila Shukadeva Goswami mentions these 10 topics. Atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam utayah manvantareshanu kata nirodho muktir ashrayah. The 10 topics: sarga, visarga, sthanam, poshanam, uti, manvantara, ishanukata, nirodho, mukti and ashraya. The 10 topics. And then in the very next verse, he says, Dashamasya vishuddhyartam navanam iha lakshanam varnayanti mahatmanaha shrutena artena cha anjasa. This describes the exclusive glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, how the other 9 topics in Srimad Bhagavatam are described purely for illuminating the 10th topic. Okay, we will get back to this verse little later. before that, let's do a very quick recap of what we have seen till now. Then Srila Shukadev Goswami starts very briefly defining these 10 topics, Sarga, Visarga, etc. Bhuta Matra Indriya Diyam Janma Sarga Udahritaha Brahmano Guna Vaishamyad. He says, what is Sarga? He says, Bhuta Matra Indriya Diyam Janma Sarga Udahritaha. The manifestation of Mahatattva, Pradhan, false ego, and the products of false ego like mind, intelligence, etc. This is called as Sarga. And when does that happen? Brahmano Guna Vaishamyad. By the glance of Mahavishnu, when the gunas are agitated, at that time Sarga starts. Visarga Paurusha Smritaha. Then he defines Visarga. What is Visarga? Creation of the bodies of the Jivas as carried out by Brahmaji and the Prajapatis, that is Visarga. Then he defines the subsequent topics. Stitir Vaikunta Vijayaha Poshanam Tadanugraha Manvantarani Saddharma Utaya Karma Vasanaha. Stitir Vaikunta Vijayaha. Stiti can refer to multiple things. One meaning is Shrishti Stiti Pralaya. Stiti means maintenance. Stitir Vaikunta Vijayaha means, Vijayaha means victory. Oftentimes we hear Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Okay, the three Murtis. But Stiti indicates Vaikunta Vijayaha, the victory of the Lord over Brahma and Lord Shiva. Because Stiti, maintenance, is more important than creation and destruction. That is one meaning of Stitir Vaikunta Vijayaha. Sthiti also means sthanam, the way in which the planetary systems are situated, the 14 planetary systems are situated in this material world. That is also sthanam, right? Poshanam tadanugraha. Poshanam means nourishment. Nourishment here refers to the special type of mercy that the Supreme Lord shows towards his devotees. Like sometimes, even when they may, due to the influence of their past vasanas, even though they may sometimes succumb to sinful life, Krishna protects them. That is Poshanam. Then comes Manvantara. Of course, Manvantara comes. Then comes Manvantara. Manvantareshanukata Nirodho Muk. Utaya Karma Vasana. Utaya Karma Vasana. Uti means actions which are impelled by the impressions that we have assimilated through past actions. Whatever past actions we have committed, favorable, unfavorable, pious, impious, devotional, etc., that which inspires us to perform actions now. That is called as Uti. Manvantara refers to the conduct of the kings during the particular Manvantara period. I am briefly touching on this topic because these would have been already elaborated in the last few Bhagavatam classes, so I don't wish to go into details of these. Just I am doing a recap. So, and then Ishanukata. Avataranu charitam harescha asya anuvartinam pumsam Ishakata prokta nana akyana upabrahmhita. What is Ishanukata? He says descriptions of the Lord's avatars and the devotees. Asya anuvartinam pumsam Ishakata prokta. And the nature of this Ishanukata is Nana Akyana Upabrahmhita. It is filled with many, many short stories like that. Then Nirodha and Mukti are described in the next verse. Nirodho asya anushayanam atmanah sahashaktibihi muktir hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. Okay. Nirodha refers to the destruction of the universe at the time of when the maintenance period is over and it is time for pralaya. Mukti means hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. Mukti means giving up all the other upadhis and being situated in our constitutional position as servant of Krishna. Okay. So then starting from today's verse, 7, 8, 9, these three verses describe Ashraya. We have defined Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Uti, Manvantara, Ishanukata, Nirodho, Mukti. 9 topics have been defined. The 10th topic, Ashraya, is described in 3 verses starting from today's verse. I will just do a very brief explanation of the Ashraya Tattva as described in these 3 verses. Then we will move on to the main theme that I wish to discuss today. So, this verse says, Abhasascha nirodascha yato asti adyavasiyate sa ashrayah param brahma paramatmeti shabdyate. So he says, the 9 topics, Abhasa refers to Sarga. Nirodha refers to the 9th topic. Okay. Of course, Mukti is defined, Mukti is mentioned before Nirodha, but Nirodha is described later in the 12th canto. Okay. From Abhasa to Nirodha, which means the 9 topics, Yato asti adyavasiyate, from whom it emanates, because by whom it is maintained, these 9 topics, who is the source of shelter of these 9 topics, Sa Ashraya, he is Ashraya. And who is that? That is Bhagavan. Param Brahma Paramatmeti Shabdyate. And that Bhagavan is also called as Param Brahma and Paramatma by the Jnanis and the Yogis according to their qualification. Okay, some of them according to their qualification call this entity as Param Brahma, and some of them according to their qualification for yoga address this absolute truth as Paramatma, as we have seen. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. So that personality, who is the source of shelter of all the other 9 topics, he is called as Ashraya. Okay. So now, in the next 2 verses, he explains this Ashraya in a very unique way. In order to distinguish, explain the Ashraya Tattva, he describes about Ashrita. Ashrita means that which needs shelter, support. And Ashraya is that which can give support. So because he is describing about Ashraya Tattva, he describes it by comparing it with Ashrita Tattvas of this material world. And this 8th verse, which will be described tomorrow by Nandadulal Prabhu, is a very strange verse. In a sense, it seems very disconnected from the topic which is being described till now. He says, Yodhyatmikoyam Purushaha Sosa Vevadi Daivikaha Yas Tatra Ubaya Vichedaha Purushohi Adi Bautikaha. When literally translated, this means the Adhyatmik Purusha is non-different from the Adidaivik Purusha. And the Adidaivik Purusha is non-different from the Adibhautik Purusha. This is what the verse means, literally translated. But what is this Adhyatmik Purusha? What is this Adibhautik Purusha? What is this Adidaivik Purusha? And what is the connection between Ashraya and the discussion of these 3 Purushas? Not very directly clear. So, if you see the Jiva is made of, the Jiva is in its conditioned state is covered by these 3 layers. Adhyatmic layer, Adibhautik layer, and the Adidaivik layer. The Adibhautik layer is the gross body that we have. The gross ears, gross eyeballs, nose, etc. Right? The gross body is the Adibhuta. Then there is the subtle body, which is called as Adhyatma. You know, the subtle sense organs, the Shrotram Chakshuhu Sparshanam Cha Rasanam Granam Evacha. You know, the subtle eyes, subtle nose, subtle tongue, etc. Then the mind intelligence, etc. These are all subtle body. Okay. Then there is Adidaiva. Adidaiva are each of the senses are controlled by sense devatas. eyes are controlled by Surya, nose is controlled by the Ashwini Kumaras, the sense of taste is controlled by Varuna, sense of speech is controlled by Agni, and so on. Okay. So this is called as Adidaivik. So there are these three layers: Adhyatmic layer, Adibhautik layer, Adidaivik layer. Okay. They are mentioned to be non-different. Non-different in the sense all three are meant for accomplishing the same purpose. With respect to purpose, they are non-different because all three layers are meant to assist the conditioned soul in his enjoyment in this material world separate from Krishna. That is the purpose of these three layers. Why they are called Purusha here, even though it is just Jada Vastu, the gross body is Jada Vastu, the subtle body is Jada Vastu. So why it's called Purusha? Because the Jiva identifies with these layers as the self. Sometimes he thinks, I am the gross body. Sometimes he thinks, I am the mind, I am the intelligence. Sometimes he thinks, I am the controller. I have control over my body, which is actually controlled by these Adidaivik demigods. So therefore, they are called as Purusha in a very sarcastic way. The Jiva misidentifies them as the self. Therefore, it is called as Purusha. So they are said to be non-different because they accomplish the same purpose. Okay. Then in the next verse, he says, Ekam ekatara abhave yada na upalabamahe tritayam tatra yo veda sa atma swa ashraya ashraya. So in this verse, he explains, Ekam ekatara abhave yada na upalabamahe. These three Purushas, Adhyatmic layer, Adibhautik layer, and the Adidaivik layer, are interdependent. They are ashrita. They are dependent on each other. For example, if a living entity has to see an object, he needs the gross eyeballs to be functional. That is the Adibhautik layer. Then there is the ability to see. That is the Adhyatmic layer. That also has to be functioning. Then Surya Dev must be pleased with that person according to his karma. So if all three cooperate, then there is vision. Similarly, taste. Okay, the gross tongue has to function. The subtle tongue has to function. Then Varuna has to be pleased with that person. Then one can taste. So if even one of them does not cooperate, the sense perception does not happen. So these three so-called Purushas are interdependent on each other for their own functioning. Okay. But the Atma in its constitutional position is not dependent on these three layers. Atma, only when he is wrongly identifying with this body, he thinks that he needs the assistance of these three layers. But Atma is independent of these three. Atma is not ashrita of these Adhyatmic, Adibhautik, and the Adidaivik layers. Okay. But is the Atma completely independent? No. The Atma is dependent on Paramatma. And that Paramatma is mentioned here as Swa Ashraya. Ashraya. That Paramatma is its own shelter. Paramatma does not need anyone else's shelter. Okay, Paramatma gives shelter to the Jiva. Mamaivamsho Jeva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Manashashtani Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati. So the Jiva is an Amsha of Paramatma. But our Acharyas explain, but Paramatma, is he completely independent? In one sense, yes, with respect to the functioning of this material world. But Krishna says, Vishtabhyaham aham kritsnam ekamshena stito jagat. Okay. While Krishna says, the Jivas are my Amsha, but he says Paramatma is also my Amsha. The Jiva is Vibhinna Amsha, but Paramatma is Swamsha. But nevertheless, the Paramatma is dependent on Krishna. So the ultimate Ashraya Tattva is not even Paramatma, it is Krishna. Okay, like that. So in this way, the the Ashraya Tattva is described in these 3 verses, 7, 8, and 9. So we have discussed in this way, very briefly touched upon the definition of the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. Oftentimes, we do hear that what is the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam titled? Anyone knows? Creation. The first canto is titled as Creation. Why is it titled as Creation? Is there any connection? Who titled it? That is still a little bit of a mystery. Okay. Is there anywhere where Srila Prabhupada connects these 10 topics with cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam? Yes. In his Jaladuta diary, when Prabhupada is sitting in Jaladuta, he has already completed the first canto. They are all sitting in trunks in the Jaladuta. And Prabhupada is envisioning his writing the subsequent cantos. So before writing, he just writes their title. He gives title to each of these cantos. And it is there in his Jaladuta diary. Okay. Prabhupada gives the first canto the title as not creation. He gives it as the absolute truth. Janmadhyasya yatonvayadi tarataschartesho vijñasvarat. Because it starts with the definition of the absolute truth. The second canto, Srila Prabhupada titles as Symptoms of Objectivity. Okay. Third canto, Srila Prabhupada titles as Creation of the Material World, Sarga. Fourth canto, he titles as The Sub-Creators, Visarga. Fifth canto, The Planetary Systems is what the title Prabhupada gives, Thanam. Okay. So this kind of titling is in line with what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and some other acharyas give. Even though these 10 topics are covered in multiple cantos, but because of predominance of one of these topics in one canto, that particular topic is ascribed to one of the cantos. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, third canto talks about Sarga. Fourth canto talks about Visarga. Fifth canto talks about Sthanam, the Vedic cosmology is described. The sixth canto, Srila Prabhupada titles it as Lord the Protector. This is from his Jaladuta diary. Okay. Poshanam. Okay. Seventh, Prabhupada titles it as Creative Impetus. Uti. Eighth, Srila Prabhupada titles as Change of Manpower. Manvantara. Okay. Ninth, Prabhupada titles as The Signs of God. Ishanukata. And 10th, Srila Prabhupada titles as Krishna, the cause of all causes, Ashraya. 11th, the path of liberation, Mukti. And 12th, the Samam Bonam, Nirodha. Okay. So, if you see, Prabhupada does seem to map the 10 topics with the 10 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, starting from the third canto. First 2 cantos are the introduction. Okay. So, and this is very in line with the explanation of some of the acharyas of our sampradaya and the other sampradayas also. And elsewhere also, in the beginning of 6th canto, Srila Prabhupada talks about titling of cantos. So Prabhupada gives a canto summary in the beginning. So there, in the beginning of the 6th canto, Srila Prabhupada talks about titling of cantos. He says, throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, there are descriptions of 10 subject matters. Prabhupada says throughout. So it is there. These topics are there throughout, but because of predominance of one topic in one canto, the canto is named that way, including creation, subsequent creation, and the planetary systems. Shukadeva Goswami, the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, has already described creation, Sarga, subsequent creation, Visarga, and planetary systems, Sthanam, in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th cantos. This is what Srila Prabhupada says. Now in this 6th canto, which consists of 19 chapters, he will describe Poshana, or protection by the Lord. Right? So, this is where the naming of the cantos is there. So, we are discussing the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, these 10 topics are not 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. These 10 are 10 topics of all the Mahapuranas, the 18 Mahapuranas. They all should have these 10 topics. In fact, if these 10 topics are not there, that particular literature does not qualify as a Mahapurana. But the uniqueness of Srimad Bhagavatam is described in the second verse of this chapter. Dashamasya vishuddhyartam navanam iha lakshanam varnayanti mahatmanah shrutena artena cha anjasa. The other 9 topics are described exclusively to illuminate the 10th topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. In one of the classes we had discussed, the other 9 topics to be like the focus lights which are there on the altar of Shri Radha Gopinath. Okay. So the other 9 topics illuminate. They are like focused lights, shining light on Radha Gopinath. Radha Gopinath's beauty is not dependent on those focused lights. Whether the focused lights function or do not function, their lordships they have the same beauty. But our appreciation of their lordship's beauty will be compromised if the focused lights are not properly functional. So similarly, the 10th topic of Ashraya Tattva is not dependent on the 9 topics. Rather, the other 9 topics are dependent on the 10th topic. But as students of Srimad Bhagavatam, our appreciation of the 10th topic of Srimad Bhagavatam will be compromised if we don't go gradually first studying the 9 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam in the order that is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, Prabhupada always mentioned that you should start from the first verse of the first chapter of the first canto and go on till the last verse of the 12th canto. Like that. So, this uniqueness of Srimad Bhagavatam is that only in Bhagavatam, the other 9 topics are very consistently described purely to glorify the 10th topic. In the beginning only, Shaunakadi Rishis say, Tat katyatam mahabhaga yadi Krishna katashrayam atava asya padamboja makaranda liham satam. They say, my dear Lord, my dear Sutta Goswami, you may describe the topics as you have heard from Shukadeva Goswami, but only yadi Krishna katashrayam, only if they are connected to Krishna kata, glorification of Krishna, atava or asya padamboja makaranda liham satam, or it should be connected to glorification of the devotees who lick the honey that emanates from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So this is the pillar of Srimad Bhagavatam. All topics of Srimad Bhagavatam come around this pillar, that it should be directly connected or it should be at least indirectly glorifying the Supreme Lord. 10th topic. Okay. So we will understand the glories of these 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavatam itself through the first 2 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. First we will take the second verse. Okay. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon moolanam Srimad Bhagavate mahamuni krite kimva parair ishvara sadyo hridya varudyate atra kritibihi shushrushabit tatshanat. This is the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you see here in this verse, the word atra has been used 3 times. And then it says Srimad Bhagavate, meaning only in Srimad Bhagavatam. Atra also means only in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Kimva Paraihi means not in any other literature. So it means 4 times it says only in Srimad Bhagavatam, only in Srimad Bhagavatam, only in Srimad Bhagavatam, only in Srimad Bhagavatam, and not in any other literatures. Which means, what does it say? Ishvaraha sadyo hridya varudyate. The Lord becomes immediately captured in the heart of whom? Kritibihi. Of one who is accomplished in hearing. Like as soon as Pundarik Vidyanidhi hears the Ahobakiyam verse, he is like literally rolling on the ground, tearing his dress and, completely absorbed in Krishna prema. Ishvara sadyo hridya varudyate. One verse, it is not even complete. But shushrushabhis takshanat, even those who are shushrushu, who have developed some interest to hear Krishna Katha, they may not even have faith. Okay? Out of some curiosity, it is mentioned that even they can immediately develop prema by taking shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. How? In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Duruha adbhuta viryesmin shraddha durestu panchake yatra swalpapi sambandha saddiyam bhava janmani. He says that what to speak of shraddha durestu, what to speak of faith, even without faith, yatra swalpapi sambandha, even little bit of connection with these 5 most potent limbs of of Bhakti. Saddiyam bhava janmani. It can lead to prema. When? Saddiyam. If that person is free of offenses. Even faith is not needed. Without faith also, if one comes in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam, it immediately leads to prema. But the condition is that there must be no prior history of offenses and no current commission of offenses. Saddiyam. Duruha adbhuta viryesmin. It is these 5 limbs of Bhakti, 5 potent limbs, most potent limbs, their power is inconceivable, he says. And it says, and one of those 5 limbs is not studying Shastras, not even studying Bhakti Shastras. He says, Srimad Bhagavata Arthanam Aswadaihi Rasikaihi Saha. Relishing the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of other devotees who have similar relish for Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is one of the 5 most potent limbs. Okay. And if one comes in such an association, even if he has no faith in Bhagavatam, but if his heart is free from offenses, even such a person can immediately attain prema, is what Srimad Bhagavatam says. Okay. He says, Kim va aparaihi, means this does not happen in any other scriptures. And then he says, Srimad Bhagavate, in this Srimad Bhagavatam alone, Mahamuni Krite, which was written by Vyasadev, who is a direct incarnation of the Supreme Lord, Vastavam Vastu Vedyam. The original subject matter of Krishna is understood by Nirmatsaranam Satam, by those people who are free from all kinds of material goals. Okay. And then, of course, Tapatraya Unmulanam. It releases one from the 3-fold miseries. Shivadam, it bestows all auspiciousness. Atra, and in this Bhagavatam alone, Paramaha is presented the process for attaining the highest object. Pra Ujjita Kaitava Dharma. And only in Bhagavatam, all Kaitava Dharma, which is Karma, Jnana, Yoga, and all kinds of mixed devotion is completely kicked off. Okay. So, he says, it vehemently rejects that path which cheats. Kaitava Dharma means, it's not that actually Karma, Jnana, Yoga also has been manifested by Krishna only. How can Krishna manifest something which is meant for cheating anyone? So, when we say Kaitava Dharma means Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, it's all Kaitava Dharma. Has Krishna created all of them to cheat the living entities? No. So, Kaitava Dharma, cheating religion means if someone approaches Karma Jnana Yoga with the desire to attain prema, then they will be cheated because those paths are incapable of giving that result. But if one approaches Karma Jnana Yoga for getting any lesser results like Swarga, liberation, etc., then they will not be cheated. Okay. But it is assumed that those who are approaching Bhagavatam generally have approached it with the mood of attaining prema. So if prema is the goal, then those who approach Karma Jnana Yoga to attain that prema will be cheated. But Karma Jnana Yoga in itself is not cheating. They are capable paths. Otherwise, why would Krishna recommend those paths in the Vedas if they are incapable, impotent paths? And they are potent because those paths have the element of bhakti also in them. Okay. So, but in Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam has no business with Karma Jnana Yoga, Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, etc. Therefore, pra-ujita kaitava dharma. It completely rejects. Okay. So, 3 prominent points mentioned in this verse. In this scripture alone, the Lord becomes controlled by the devotees. Ishvara sadyo hridyavarudyate. Atra, only in this scripture. And Vedyam Vastavam Vastu. The Vastava Vastu is consistently presented only in this scripture. And only in this scripture, the cheating religion is completely rejected. Which means this is not done in the other literatures. So like some time back we were discussing on this, how Srila Prabhupada describes Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita as the PhD study and Bhagavatam as the postgraduate study, and Bhagavad Gita as, the graduate study. So we were discussing that in Dharma Shastras like Mahabharata, what is recommended is the ultimate recommendation is live a pious life, progress to the path of jnana and attain liberation. The general recommendation is live a pious life, perform your dharma and attain swarga. And it rejects impious lives. Don't live sinful life. Now, within that Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita is one step ahead. What is the ultimate conclusion of Bhagavad Gita? Shuddha Bhakti. Man manabhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. That is the ultimate recommendation of Bhagavad Gita. What is the common recommendation of Bhagavad Gita? Common recommendation of Bhagavad Gita is what is called as Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, where Bhakti is predominant. It must be predominantly Bhakti. Yat karoshi, yad ashnasi, yad juhosi dadati, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. That is the common recommendation of Bhagavad Gita. But Bhagavad Gita gives concession for performing Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga in the first 6 chapters. Okay. If you cannot perform Shuddha Bhakti, you can practice Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. That concession is given. Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana tapasvibhyodiko yogi jnanibhyopi matodika. In those verses, there is, concession given for performing Karma Jnana Ashtanga Yogas. And Bhagavad Gita rejects demigod worship and other such things. Yepyanya devata bhakta yajante avidipurvakam, like that Krishna says. Higher than Bhagavad Gita, one step higher is Srimad Bhagavatam. The ultimate recommendation of Srimad Bhagavatam is Vraja Bhakti. Asamaho charana renur jushamaham syad vrindavane kimapi gulmalatau shadinam. The best of the devotees outside of Vrindavan is aspiring for Vraja Bhakti. That is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. The common recommendation of Srimad Bhagavatam is pure devotional service. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshaje ahituki apratihataya atma suprasidati. But Bhagavatam also sometimes gives some concession for some mixed processes as long as bhakti is predominant. Right? Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Okay. So there he says, at least even if you have other goals, at least do exclusive bhakti to attain those goals. That is the concession Bhagavatam gives. And Bhagavatam rejects demigod worship and other such practices. Now, Chaitanya Charitamrita is even one step ahead. Okay. As Srila Prabhupada calls it, the PhD study. The ultimate conclusion of Chaitanya Charitamrit is not even Vraja Bhakti, but Madhurya Rasa. Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunaya Vatirnaha Kalau Samarpayitu Munnata Ujjvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam. Right? So, Ujjvala Rasam, and even in the conversation between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this becomes very clear. The common recommendation of Chaitanya Charitamrit is Vraja Bhakti. That which is the ultimate recommendation of Bhagavatam is the common recommendation of Chaitanya Charitamrit. Prema rasa niryasa karite aswadan, raga marga bhakti loke karite pracharan. Right? Sometimes, in the beginning stages, Chaitanya Charitamrit gives sometimes concession for other types of Shuddha Bhakti. Jnane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva Jivanti Sanmukaritam Bhavadiya Vartam. When Ramananda Rai quotes this verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Eho hai, this is okay. Till then he was telling Eho Bahya, Eho Bahya, Eho Bahya. But when he came to this, he said, Eho hai. This is okay, he says. But he does not say, this is perfect. Eho Uttama, he says that later. He says, Eho hai, this is okay, this is very good. I accept it. Okay, and outright Chaitanya Charitamrit rejects any kind of mixed devotional service. When he says Varnashrama Charavata Purushena Parapuman Vishnur Aradhyate Panta Nanyat Tattosha Karanam. When Ramananda Rai quotes this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Eho Bahya. And all other kinds of mixed devotion, etc., he says Eho Bahya, external, external, external. The first verse he accepts is Jnane Prayasa Mudapasya. Eho hai. This is okay. Now go further, like that. Okay. So in this way, Bhagavatam is the stepping stone for understanding Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Only when someone comes to the conclusion that Vraja Bhakti is the topmost, then one becomes qualified to study Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this exclusive glory of Srimad Bhagavatam, which glorifies the pure devotional service and nothing else, is described throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, in the 12th canto, it is mentioned, Kalimala samhati kalano akilesho harir itaratra na giyate hi abhikshnam. In the other literatures other than Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no continuous glorification of the Supreme Lord. This is Vyasadeva himself writing. He only compiled the other literatures. Vidura also comes to Maitreya. And he says, Paravaresham Bhagavan Vratani Shrutani me Vyasamukad abhikshnam. Atrupnamakshulla Sukavahanam Teshamrite Krishna Katamrita Ogat. My dear Maitreya, I have come to you to hear Krishna Katha because till now I have heard from Vyasadeva on many subject matters which were mostly not directly connected to Krishna Katha. So I was not very happy. Like that. So further, Narada Muni also, in his instructions to Vyasadeva, he says, Bhavata anudita prayam yasho bhagavato amalam yenai vaso na tushyeta manye tad darshanam kilam. He is actually chastising that very same great personality who had compiled the Vedanta Sutra. So he says, you only compiled the Vedanta Sutra, right? Still you are dissatisfied. Therefore, I consider that darshan to be inferior. It is not the best of the literatures that you have written. Because you have not, you yourself are not satisfied. Then Vyasadeva says, but I have glorified the qualities of the Lord in Padma Purana and other such Puranas. He says, Yata dharmadayas-charta munivaryanu kirtitaha na tata vasudevasya mahimahi anuvarinita. Yes, you may have glorified, but you have glorified the Supreme Lord as the means to attain Swarga, Moksha, etc. Is that the glorification of Swarga, Moksha, or is that the glorification of the Supreme Lord? So he says, no. Yes, I have described like that, but I have also described the superiority of Prema and Krishna in those literatures. He says, yes, you have. But not to the extent you have glorified Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and there is no repeated glorification. I want you to write a literature in which there is repeated, consistent glorification of only the Supreme Lord. That you have not written. Okay. Nayad vachas chitrapadam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita karhichit tad vayasam tirtam ushanti manasa. Nayatra hamsa niramanti ushikshayaha. Such a literature, even though it may be filled with very poetic words, with all types of poetic ornaments like alliteration, simile, metaphors, etc. But still, if it is not directly glorifying Krishna or even indirectly glorifying Krishna, it is a place of pilgrimage for the crows, where only refuse is put. The swans do not take relish, they do not relish such glorification. Okay. So, then one may say that in Bhagavatam also there are Vamshavalis and so many just names of various kings which are not directly connected to Krishna. Sthanam, the description of the 14 planetary systems, description of hellish planets. What connection does it have directly with Krishna? So therefore, those aspects of Srimad Bhagavatam must also be considered to be a place of pilgrimage for the crows, someone may say. Or if you say no, then these kind of subject matters comes in the other literatures also, then they should also not be considered to be place of pilgrimage for crows. So the Acharyas say, no, in Bhagavatam, he quotes the same verse, 12th canto verse that we saw. Harir itaratra na giyate hi abhikshnam. In the other literatures, there is no consistent glorification of Krishna. Okay. So, but in Bhagavatam, there is consistent glorification of Krishna, which means all the other 9 topics, Dashamasya Vishuddhyartam Navanam Iha Lakshanam Varnayante Mahatmanaha. The other 9 topics are described purely for illuminating the 10th topic only in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So, he says, that being the case, the chapters and stories of Bhagavatam are all ornaments to the glories of the Lord. In other Puranas, however, many of the stories are devoid of the glories of the Lord and are therefore place of the crows. Thus, there is no contradiction. So, there is a difference between the other 9 topics appearing in the other Puranas and those same 9 topics appearing in Srimad Bhagavatam. Those 9 topics are utilized to illuminate the 10th topic in Srimad Bhagavatam, but that consistent purpose is not there in the other Puranas, according to Bhagavatam itself. Okay. So, anyways, it's I had something else to share, but it's already 9:15. So, to conclude, Bhagavatam is a very unique literature. Srila Prabhupada said that one has to first do Bhagavad Gita, then Srimad Bhagavatam, then Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. That is the order in which one has to approach. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, one should first study Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 100 times before you touch Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Why? Because you understand with what mindset we have to approach Srimad Bhagavatam. The conclusion, one should not get diverted. So similarly, one should read Bhagavatam 100 times before reading Bhagavad Gita. So because, Bhagavad Gita talks about Karma Jnana Ashtanga Yogas also. It talks about Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti also. So what is the purpose of our studying Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of our studying Bhagavad Gita is so that you accept the essence of Bhagavad Gita which is given in Bhagavatam. Right? And the purpose of our studying Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam talks about many types of pure devotional service as performed by Bali Maharaj to Vamana Dev, to Prahlad Maharaj, to Narasimha Dev, to Kardama Muni, to Kapila Dev. But what is the essence? One should see through Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayastadama Vrindavanam. Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavadu Vargenaya Kalpita. When that essence is clear, then with the eyes of that, you understand Srimad Bhagavatam, then you like that. So, but Srila Prabhupada said first Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because Prabhupada, through his Bhaktivedanta purports, has already incorporated the essence of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in his Bhaktivedanta purports. So when we read Bhagavad Gita also, that essence of Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Taddama Vrindavanam is there in the purports of Bhagavad Gita, in the purports of Srimad Bhagavatam, and in the purports of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there is no contradiction. Okay, when Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said 100 times Chaitanya Charitamrita before Srimad Bhagavatam, and when Srila Prabhupada says first Bhagavad Gita, then Bhagavatam, then Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.